Since this high-density housing plan was announced a few months ago, Supervisors Clavin, Saladino, and I have made it our mission to speak up and let it be known that this housing plan is just plain wrong for the unique needs of our communities. While we agree that affordable housing is an issue that must be faced head-on by government at every level, doing it in a heavy-handed and one-size-fits-all way is just wrong, and it stands to negatively impact our communities. The school districts within our towns have worked hard to rightfully earn their distinctions as some of the best schools in our nation. But even the best schools would face a significant challenge handling the sudden influx in students that high-density zoning would surely bring.
And these school districts work hard on Long Island. We have the best school districts in the nation. And they have to face things like a 2% cap. Think of the schools, the infrastructure expenses, the buses, the education, the teachers, the special needs. Our school districts can't afford it, and we can't afford it. And as Jen DeSena, the supervisor of North Hempstead, said, this is not a Republican issue. This is not a Democratic issue. This issue is facing everyone. I've never seen so many parties come together, from local leaders, from our friends who are Democrats in Westchester opposing the governor's idea just as much as we did. Well, we need the residents to stand up. Stand up with your town supervisors, your county officials, your school district, your civic leaders, because we all know this is a bad idea.
Thousands of apartments flooding single-family zone neighborhoods. Without local control, it makes no sense. That means it's the end of democracy when local people can't play a role in what happens in their communities. Overcrowded classrooms are another big problem. Many schools would need additional dollars to construct extensions on their buildings. That means millions of dollars per school district. And who will pay for that? The taxpayers. And that's wrong. But today is about the schools, and we thank all of the school districts for coming together to say no to this dangerous plan. Taking away control means the beginning of the end to democracy. We've been elected, whether it's school boards, town supervisors, villages, and on. We've been elected to represent and carry out the will of the people, and taking that away surely is the beginning of the end of democracy.
So we've sent out a letter to the governor asking her to please partner with us. I think we all understand how unaffordable Long Island is, but that's partly because of what Albany is putting down to us. The mandates that they send down to us, we have to comply with, and then that increases the costs to our schools and then increases our taxes.
This implementation of high-density housing is an overreach of the governor's authority and circumvents all our local processes. The governor hasn't once taken into consideration the impact of high-density housing on our local school districts. This will create overcrowding, will certainly dilute the tax dollar per pupil ratio. Our local officials, our locally elected officials, work with our school districts. They listen to our residents of our communities. They drive through our streets, okay? Having Albany implement a high-density housing plan in our communities would be a disaster.
So I'm asking everyone to support local control, not hochul control. It's in the best interest of every student. There is no one standing here who does not support affordable housing. We all do. It's the process in which we go to get there. Every year, a new mandate comes, we have to do this with no funding for it. A government mandate like this would only compromise school districts from being able to provide the excellent services, classrooms, and programs they provide, especially for us here in Herrick.
I volunteered my time for more than 2 decades to make good things happen, to clean up a mess I didn't make that happened on someone else's watch, and I didn't do it so that we could then later, some 2 decades later, have, with the stroke of a pen and a blind eye, the ultimate unfunded mandate. We need partners in Albany to understand the way of life of our communities. And again, school boards and the general community has been given precious little of information about the housing compact. People have the right, they've earned the right to run their own lives in their own communities. And that is why we are here today about this singular issue, which is not and should not and must not be political. This is about community. This is about community. This is about our children and the education that we provide.